was 3 years old, November cold. Mama washing clothes, then the world broke loose. Radio crying, mama on her knees. Kennedy gone, I didn't know what it meant, but I knew what grief looked like. My sister just born, life starting new. My brother shook nights no one could undo. They called him limited, he called it done. I told him I'd make him well someday. I meant every word I said, but promises don't stop time, and love don't always win the fight. Still somehow through the losses and breaks, I'm still standing when it counts. I've carried a weight you couldn't see long before.
All right, I cut it short because I want to spend all the time that we can with our guest today. Welcome to the live stream, the Kills Health live stream with Dr. Nelson. I am your host, Dr. Nelson, and we have an exciting topic today and an exciting guest. It is an honor to host Naomi Aldort, a world-renowned parenting expert and author of the bestseller, Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves. Today, we're exploring the profound connection between ancestral nutrition and the emotional and physical development of our children, from the womb to the dinner table. Welcome to the show, Dr. Naomi.
Naomi, I'm not the doctor. You.
All right.
Thank you yeah. I just want to mention right away that it's my second book that has a whole chapter about health and diet. And this one, listen.
Yeah, and I do have the name, but somehow
Listen to Your Baby. Both books are excellent and helped parents all around the world. The first one is in 20 languages. But this one I wrote, I have to say my wings were cut some on that chapter about health. Because there's a publisher and they don't want to take risks, So
I understand. I've spoken to many people who have written books, and
like you can't just say, feed your baby meat, how do you know, or your citations and this so anyway, so they cut whole sections, but any smart parent will get the hint. Even it's there.
All right. So I do have another little video to show, and I'm going to show this now, and then we're going to talk about different things, in particular diet and children, right? I think all of us parents are interested in that, and prospective parents to be should learn about this. Let me show this, and we'll be right back.
If you're a parent, you've likely experienced this. The living room is chaotic, your toddler is melting down, and the standard cultural playbook suggests timeouts and scolding to regain control during a battle of wills. Author Naomi Aldort presents a different perspective in her book, Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves. Her work is built on the observation that children naturally want to do their best and cooperate, provided they aren't driven by fear or the need for approval. It is a hopeful philosophy, yet many parents find that tantrums and aggression remain constant hurdles. If connection is the goal, we have to look at why it often feels so difficult to achieve in the heat of the moment. The struggle often stems from a biological crisis rather than a lack of discipline. A major factor in these behavioral hurdles is the frequent consumption of processed sugars and refined carbohydrates, which can effectively hijack a child's brain function. When a child's nervous system is chemically dysregulated, connection-based parenting remains out of reach. The body's physical state determines the mind's ability to respond to gentle guidance. This diagram shows what happens when processed carbohydrates enter a child's system. They convert quickly into glucose, causing a sharp and unnatural spike in the bloodstream. Because the spike is artificial, it is followed by an immediate crash. When glucose levels have plummeted, the developing brain interprets this sudden energy drop as a threat to its survival. In response, the brain triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline. These stress hormones flood the nervous system, shifting the child into a state of physiological high alert. Repeated daily exposure to these chemical spikes and crashes can lead to chronic neuroinflammation and a disruption of dopamine regulation. These internal reactions are what produce the behaviors often labeled as defiance or a lack of focus. The child isn't choosing to be difficult. They are reacting to a chemical imbalance. What looks like malicious disobedience is often a physiological panic attack triggered by a rapid drop in blood sugar. The first step toward a calmer home is stabilizing the child's brain chemistry. Replacing refined sugars with whole foods and healthy fats provides the steady energy a developing brain requires. A biologically stable child is better able to access the parts of the brain responsible for empathy and logic. This state of physical calm allows Naomi Aldort's non-punitive methods to become practical options for the family. Aldort's approach focuses on achieving cooperation through understanding, rather than through the use of bribes, threats, or punishments. She uses the salve communication formula to guide parents. These 5 pillars represent a specific way to listen to a child's cues, ensuring they feel heard and respected while developing emotional resilience. When the child's physical needs are met through proper nutrition, the parent can successfully apply these emotional tools to resolve conflicts. When diet and guidance align, families often find they no longer need to rely on constant reaction and struggle. The home becomes a space of mutual respect. This approach helps raise children who behave well of their own free will because they feel secure and connected to their parents. For those looking to implement these principles, Naomi Aldort's books, Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves, and Listen to Your Baby offer detailed roadmaps. You can find additional resources, including web classes and private sessions, at naomialdort.com. This has been a production of Doctor Nelson Vazquez and Kilt Health. Real peace in the home starts by respecting the child's biological requirements and their emotional autonomy.
Wow, you did a great job.
Thank you. I did have another one that was processing. I didn't even watch it, and I have no idea how long it is, but unfortunately I couldn't view it before starting here. It's about 4 minutes, it looks like. Anyways, if the moment arises, maybe we'll play that.
Okay.
All right. So this topic interests me. I have 3 grown adult children. They're all in their 30s. One of them has a child. And so I have a grandson and another one in just about 2 months. So it interests me, the topic, as a parent and grandfather. And also, I have been a family physician for a long time. And so my advice, even though was never heavy on the ultra processed food, refined sugar, but it always was more towards lower carbohydrate and more natural diets. But sometimes, with the greatest of intentions, as a parent, we still do the wrong thing, right? So I have a bunch of questions, but if you guys have questions for her, please put them in the chat, QQQ in front of it. I would love to ask her questions from you. I have literally over 50 or 60 questions to ask you. We're not going to go through all of those. The very first one, I want you to tell me, good or bad. How about oatmeal?
Poison. I gave it to my children. I made the same mistake as you. It took me a year to learn. But I want to add to that I think that's a category that's very important to talk about, where parents think they're providing whole, nutritious food. And I notice when parents call me for sessions and talk to me, they consider it unprocessed, like when it's oats, it's the real thing. They don't realize how much you have to process any grain to be able to consume it, because it's not made for humans. We don't have four stomachs, we don't have beaks, and we have to do all this stuff to it. Go to an oats field and try to eat. I mean, really, go to a wheat field and try to eat. I mean, it's not our food. So, but people think that's whole food, or they buy today. I see a lot of parents have those pouches of smoothie that they buy ready made, that the child can sip on in the car, and to make it easy on them. I'm sure it's pasteurized, it's fruit, and it's basically sugar liquid because it's processed, and plastic inside that goes into it. So it's just another example. There's a lot of things that we think are whole, or if we make our own bread, is that now whole food just because we made it our own? Well, flour is already a processed item. Everything we put in it is and I say my shortest way of saying it is bread doesn't grow on trees. And I recommend really what runs, hunters food more than even what grows food. But children can handle some fruit, but today's fruit has been bred to be 10 times sweeter, juicier, and you can get it year round, not by season. I trust nature. Go in the wild and see what you catch at your season and how much you catch. And you have to share it with the whole family. How much is it going to be? And when it's wild, it's not so sweet. It's not a candy. Now we have, tree candy,
Oh,
right?
we have
Candy tree.
cotton candy grapes.
Yes, exactly.
They are giant and they taste like cotton candy. That didn't grow in nature. As much as it looks like real food, maybe is not really real food.
No.
And you just mentioned something interesting. Uh, we don't go to the field and start eating the oats, the wheat, the rice, the beans right off of the plant. We have to process it, we have to cook it, we have to mill it, we have to do all these things.
Yeah.
And the other day we presented this. Definitely doesn't happen like that, right?
No, I like to say both things. We have candy trees today. That's the fruit of today, and in all seasons. Like, I live in the Northwest. How much fruit would I have if I ate fruit in the wild? About 2 weeks a year, there's some raspberries, and by nature, I would hardly get any. Some blackberries are a little easier to get, but still a handful once in a while for a short while in the fall. No tropical fruit. No, it's like we fool ourselves. We don't trust nature. I always go back to when sometimes people ask me, parents ask me, so what can I feed? And I said, pretend you're going out in the wilderness rather than the supermarket, or even rather than in the health food store. Because in the name of organic food, there's a lot of junk called organic, like those pouches of smoothie and other, bars and all kinds of, just because it says organic, it's still processed. It still translates to sugar so often. So go in the wild, what are you going to get? You're going to catch a rabbit, a fish, in my area, a deer, maybe fish, some salmon. But if I go in the forest, I can die from some mushrooms. They're all poisonous. There's one or two kinds that aren't. And really nothing else. That's the
All
reality.
right. So let's go back a little bit to the beginning and tell us about what you do, and tell us about these two books that you have. And I have your website up, and I have your pages for
Right.
people to, if they want to contact you in any way. But give us a little bit of a story about the books in summary. And
Yeah. So raising our children, raising ourselves is what the title says. Um, when parents call me, and the book is based on what I do with parents, both books. So lots of stories of what parents have discussed with me. Um, but when they're triggered by the child and want to control the child so that the child wouldn't do this or that, because when they do it, I'm triggered, I'm hurt, I'm angry, I'm annoyed, I think it's wrong. Yeah, that's my website. And so we need to raise ourselves. Our children are pushing the buttons that we need to transform. So, in other words, we have to raise ourselves based on the feedback we get from the child rather than try to shape the child so they don't trigger us. This is even politically useful, all the trigger warning, etc. No, don't, trigger me because that's what I need to work on. So that's the first book. It has the solve formula that you mentioned in the little ad that you created, which is very, very useful to first calm yourself down and get present to what's going on for the child as opposed to my reaction. So you transform it from reaction and struggle to actually responding to the child based on reality of what's going on for the child. So that's compassion, understanding. It doesn't mean permissiveness. People often take it wrong, like the child should get whatever they want. No, but it means that we treat everything with understanding of emotional needs, the stage of development, etc. So that's a very short way of saying it. Covers all subjects: rivalry, behavior, aggression, learning, just all ages, everything, all the way even till teenager and relationship with your parents. The second book, the new one, Listen to Your Baby, uses the work of Byron Katie. That's the beauty of it. And it says on the cover, including the work of Byron Katie. So it has actual sessions that I do with parents, transcribed word for word, the whole thing. And again, it covers everything: learning, development, sleep, behavior, tantrum, you name it. And any problem that parents have with young children till about age 6 or 7, but the principles are good for all ages. And a chapter about health, and also some about pregnancy, natural birth, baby care, first food for babies. Of course, they should breastfeed, but also alternative. If you can't breastfeed, I give you not formula, not junk alternatives, but real food that would be the closest to mother's milk, and how to birth naturally, how to avoid the pitfalls of hospital births, and food in pregnancy and the early years for the children in terms of sleeping better and how to have children sleep, which is not the usual way. It's not about putting them to bed. We only put packages in places or things. We don't put children anywhere. We respond to them. We respond to what they need, which is constant body contact. So it's based in attachment parenting and the need for constant connection and responsiveness. And that's why it's called Listen to Your Baby. You don't want to listen to the voices in your head coming from your own traumas and issues as children, and not to your doctor, excuse me, doctor, and not to your neighbor or your in-laws or anybody. Doesn't mean you don't hear them. So I don't, it's like listen to the elderly. Sometimes they are very wise and they may actually give you good clues. Listen, but decide what to do based on thinking about it in terms of listening to your child. Okay, does it fit the child? Is this what my child actually wants? So grandma may say to you, stop sleeping with your baby. Well, look at the baby. What does the baby want? Is he happy sleeping by themselves? Is anybody happy sleeping by themselves, let alone a young child who doesn't even know he exists or safe or that anybody would care for them and they can't move to sleep by themselves. The early years, it's really terrifying. So listen to the baby. Your parents may be old fashioned, say, oh, they need independence. And this is just one example, right? And how food impacts sleep, behavior, temper, learning abilities, everything. So I can talk forever about what's in the book, but I think we need to move on. I can't hear you. Your voice went. I cannot hear you.
I had turned my mic off to avoid some other noise behind me. Uh, Thank you. This is very interesting. And looking back, uh, often we advise parents to remove that child of the bedroom, as soon as possible, uh, to foster independence, I guess. 5 months old is not really independent, but
No, let me interrupt you just for a second. The baby's independent choice is to sleep with you. So when you sleep with them, you are encouraging independence because you're teaching them how you feel, what your inside tells you that you need is right. You can trust yourself. That's independence.
so looking back, uh, with my own children, each one of them at some point, as soon as they could get out of their crib or bed, when they were no longer in cribs, they would come almost every night, right?
Right.
And they learned very quickly this. If we go, they would, the instinct of probably every baby is going to be to go to mom first, right? But they learned very quickly that if they came to that side, that moves over, makes space for them, and we all wake up in the morning. I wouldn't even notice, but when they went to their mom's side, she she would bring them back. She would kick them out of the room and put them back in their bed or the crib. So they learned very quickly. If we go to that, we stay for the night. And we wake up, and I didn't even remember, but my instinct was I move over, and each one of them did that, and each went through the learning process that if I go to that side, I stay here. So, all right, let's see if we have any questions. And I understand that this is not playing on Dr. Kill's channel right now. It's not playing on Facebook on Dr. Kill's channel either. I do not know why. StreamYard, which is what we use, did tell me that there was a problem, but it's not something I could solve immediately. So if you're watching, obviously, you have found another stream, and I do have it on my own channel, and hopefully there's people watching on Facebook as well. So thank you for being here anyways. And if you have a way of telling others that it is playing in another channel, then thank you. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I do have a bunch of other questions, and let's see. So let's talk about, and I have to say, this is something that parents do realize, but we're not very compliant with doing the right thing, because almost every parent at some point realizes too much sugar, makes them hyper. The old joke about, you go to take the kids to their grandparents, they feed them with sugar, bring them back to their parents, and now we have a hyper child, and of course the grandparents get blamed. But we all sort of realize that at some point, but then it doesn't translate completely into what we do in their diets, right? So, what's the connection between tantrums and sugar?
Well, that you should explain because I actually don't know the exact biology other than when the sugar is up, the temper is going up. So I remember learning about, and the thing is that sugar is in the blood also when you eat noodles, bread, muffins, chips, fruit. I mean, it's not just some highly processed junk that's very obvious or ice cream. In fact, ice cream is not as unhealthy as some other uh, uh, junk and sweets that children have. But I remember, I have a program called Family Intensive Retreat where families come here. I have an extra building and get hands on counseling. And in the past, I used to go to people's home like Super Nanny. And I was in this home with three children, and the middle child would get very hyper. And under my influence, they stopped feeding grains and beans and everything made of those, all baked goods and sugar, etc. But one day of the few days I was there, the father comes back home with the boy. He was out with him. The moment the boy entered the door, I knew he's, his glycemic index is in the sky. He was just, his temper was so negative and rough and aggressive, and he was just not out of control. So I just looked at the father and I said, "What did you feed him?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. He had spaghetti." So it doesn't even take the sugar itself, although the spaghetti probably had tomato sauce on it, which is mostly sugar, and some other chemicals. But yeah, I think if you want to describe the actual biological explanation, you should give that. But I can just tell you what I observe. They eat chips, they eat sugar, and it's like, there goes the afternoon. It's going to be hyper and aggressive and sibling rivalry and out of control and unable to focus. So I see the results and I go like, I don't know the biology and the chemistry, but I know what I see in front of my eyes. I listen to the baby. I listen to the child. I look.
So, the biology is very easy. All these foods that you're mentioning, especially everything that's starch or made with flour. I mean, all those things, you don't absorb spaghettis or any pasta. You don't absorb potato or a piece of bread. It's digested, broken down into starches, carbohydrates, and everything that you absorb is only basically a sugar.
Yeah.
That's it. So,
Yeah.
what does sugar do? It increases your blood levels of sugar. And so, a lot of people think that having, even though it's natural, these starchy particular roots, for example, and potato, sweet potato, and anything that grows under the ground and you have to cook is a starch, most likely.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think that covers 100% all of them. Anything that you have to cook because you cannot eat it raw, a plant-based item, it's starch. Okay, even if it's not underground, but a plantain or a banana,
Yeah.
if it's green and you have to cook it to be able to eat it, it's because it's starch. And everything that is starchy breaks down into glucose basically to be able to be absorbed. You don't absorb the potato or the sweet potato or any of those roots. You absorb the glucose after it's broken down.
Yep.
Uh,
That's good. Thank you.
and I think I have someone here trying to fix the problem. But anyways, all right. So Let me see if there are any questions here. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I had created this a little bit.
Oh, wow. That's really excellent.
And this is all based off your book. I put the website here. If you want to know more about this, about the 2 books, about what she does, go to the website. Let me take this out for a second. Okay. Oh, I changed the slide because I created it. This is a busier one, so I'm not going to show that. But basically, the concept is simple. Sugar fuels behavioral struggle and instability. You need to prioritize brain healthy nutrition for children. Chronic carb consumption causes brain damage. I mean, I don't think this is a difficult concept for parents to believe, right?
Right. Well,
well,
it's difficult
for the most part.
Yeah.
But how does that translate into changing the behavior of the parents in feeding their children?
Right.
It's probably really a more complicated thing, right?
Yeah. And it's not easy. Let me acknowledge some difficulty that I see in parents. They live in a society, and the majority of society eating so much junk, so much stuff. It's just heartbreaking. And they want the children to fit in and not to go into a play group and feel like a pariah. And I watch play groups with my grandchildren. And, it could be that one parent is really at home feeding the child really well, but then the other parents are bringing a bag of bagels or crackers or Cheerios or some other junk. And the child leaves the food the mother gave them and run for the Cheerios. And the parents are being kind, so they give them as much as they want. And then you get the child eating lunch, and all they eating is some Cheerios, right? Instead of the food parents get them. And so that's a big problem. The other big obstacle is the doctors, because pediatricians today have been indoctrinated, probably by the food industry, I don't know, to tell parents to put a plate with variety of things on the plate. And they say if you don't do that, your child, so it's always a scare tactic that they're taught in medical school or I don't know where.
They're going to be nutritionally deficient on something.
No. The scare is they will have eating disorders. You want them to feel comfortable that they can eat anything and everything. Because sometimes when I tell a parent, you should cut those chips and noodles and rice out of the diet, she said, well, I want my son to be able to eat everything. I don't want them to get used to be limited. So that's, and the paradox is, and it's really sad, is I see parents, like when they give the baby first food and they follow my instruction, I tell them to give them a liver or some ground meat, some egg yolk, and the children love it, and they just eat, and it's fine, and they do well in the beginning because parents know that when you have a baby who has been breastfed for the first half a year to a year, they can't eat all the foods all at once. And so the new baby, the newly eating, growing baby, is very happy, just devouring this liver or meat or ground meat or whatever it is, or patties that they make, or egg yolks. And then as they grow their palate, they put these 5 things on the plate: chips and a little meat and grapes and cookie. It's like homemade cookie. And eventually I look at these children and the meat stays on the plate because they're becoming carbs addicted. Carbs are addictive. Sugar is addictive. Carb is addictive because it's basically sugar, right? So what happens is now you get the kids are not as healthy. I see all these kids with these rings under their eyes. They're not getting enough nutrition. And then the parents say, we did a blood test. They don't have enough B vitamins. They don't have enough iron. I said, well, of course. So, but I give them meat, but they're not eating it. Well, don't put something else on the plate. So I teach the opposite theory than what the pediatrician are telling parents. I say, give the child one item, not a bunch of them that don't fit together. So if they're going to eat a little fruit separately at the lunchtime or breakfast time or dinner, whatever, have one type of item. Yeah, you can have an egg and a slice of bacon and a patty, but it's all meat, fatty meat, and meat related, or fish, or whatever that you're giving them, or a piece of chicken. But give it all the same kind so they're not drawn to these carbs and end up not eating what gives them the most nutritious, which is what they need the most. You know, we're made of cholesterol. We need all this cholesterol, this delusion of, you know, you shouldn't have enough cholesterol. That's another whole nonsense chapter, right? But they need the cholesterol. And also, that reminds me, a lot of parents put sunscreen on. If the child eats enough meat and fatty meat and animal fat, they will have enough cholesterol in their skin to not burn. I mean, if they're really white, obviously you have to choose the hours of the day and put a hat on and stuff like that. But the sun is healing. They need the sun desperately. You know, we're born on a planet that has sun for a reason. Everything thrives on it. Your plants will die without it. You would die without it. Your child needs it. So don't smear sunscreen. Be in the shade when it's too hot or indoors, but let the child be in a healthy UV level sun and play in the sun. If you feed them the right food, their skin won't burn as easily, if at all, because it has enough cholesterol, which is, and don't soap it either. Don't put any creams on it or any of the stuff. I learned it personally from my own experience. When I started eating carnivore, I noticed I'm not burning in the sun anymore. I would sit in the sun forever, for hours and hours. It's like, what happened? I'm not even red. You know, it's like, amazing. So I started investigating the subject and said, oh, you need that cholesterol in your skin. Don't strip it off. Don't take shower after being in the sun. And actually, children don't need at all to soap their skin. You know, soap their dirty feet and hands and crotch, but leave their skin alone. It doesn't need constant drying and taking the oils off. So all these things go together and lead us back to the good nutrition, the
And
behavior, the health, everything, the sun.
you mentioned the sun, the skin, and cholesterol. And for people to understand this, I like to
Thank you.
explain this. Vitamin D needs to be converted to the active form of vitamin D by sunlight. Okay. There are certain foods that are rich on vitamin D, and you might be able to elevate your levels eating those. By the way, they're all animal based, basically.
Yeah.
But do you know what the pre vitamin D molecule is? What is the substance that gets converted by the sunlight to vitamin D, the active form of vitamin D? It's called 7-dehydrocholesterol.
Mhm.
It is basically cholesterol that gets turned to vitamin D.
Right.
And so are many of our hormones in our body, all the sex hormones, cholesterol. Half of the brain is fat, half of that is cholesterol. Every cell of our body is built from cholesterol, among other things. And this, I'm grateful that you started mentioning cholesterol. The cholesterol code, we're going to be screening it in Orlando, and it has been confirmed that we are going to have it. I was thinking it was going to be canceled because it had not sold enough tickets, but it is confirmed. So please go to, you can find it in a few ways. You can go to kiltsmeetup.com and find your way down to the cholesterol showing in Orlando. It's in Altamont Springs. If you know Orlando, Altamont Springs is basically the greater Orlando area. And you can buy the tickets directly there. You can also go to cholesterolcodemovie.com and find any screening near you. You can find all the screens that are scheduled for the cholesterol code, and you can find a place near you. If you're not near Orlando, then find the one that is closer to you. But if you're in Orlando, I would appreciate it immensely that you come and share with us. We are supposed to sell about 80 tickets to confirm. About 40 have been sold, and someone has guaranteed basically the showing, and that costs money if we don't sell the rest. But come and watch it with us. If you don't want to come and watch it in the theaters, you can go to Amazon and buy it. If you go to cholesterolcodemovie.com, you can also find a link to the Amazon particular link, and you can either rent it or buy it from Amazon. But if you go to, let's see, I have it up here. So
I'd love to sell it on my website.
So this is where you can go and buy. The link is in the description. The link is at kiltsmeetup.com. The link is at the cholesterolcodemovie.com. You can find your way to there. And you can see it's been hosted by Dr. Nelson Vazquez. And we hope to see you there, okay? So it's on May 6th. So it's basically 2 weeks from yesterday that we're going to be there. We might have a couple of doctors, and we might have a Q&A with David Feldman, either remotely or live there if he comes. I don't think he was making plans to come, but we'll see. All right. So I didn't want to forget it, so I wrote it down. So very often, parents, conscious of maybe a little bit about this carbohydrate issue and junk food, they select healthy foods. And before I read this question, for example, is it better to give them chicken nuggets because they love chicken nuggets, or is it better to give them the chicken? Cook the chicken in any other way than into a nugget. Which one is better?
Well, obviously, cook the chicken. The chicken nuggets, who knows what's in that breadcrumbs, right there we got sugar. I read somewhere, and I wonder, Nelson, if you have knowledge on that when you eat like breadcrumbs with the chicken or whatever else they make it stick, etc., it could be chemicals too, and sugar, no doubt. But even just eating carbs with the meat, or vegetables even with their toxins, with the proteins. I read, I don't remember the source, and I don't never figured out whether it's true, but it makes sense to me that the toxins from the plants and the carbs get in the way of absorbing all the nutrients from the meat. Okay, do you know that? And can you explain
Well,
that?
I don't know if it decreases particularly the protein part, the chicken,
No,
but
but like iron, B vitamins.
yeah, because many foods don't, if they're not a bioavailable, you're not going to be able to absorb those things. And if you're having spinach, for example, with a meal, and you think the calcium, the iron, and the zinc are being absorbed, you're absorbing very little because the spinach has anti-nutrients and it has basically plant toxins that block the absorption of those minerals that the spinach has. It does have it, but you don't get it. And you're thinking that by eating that and having these smoothies and kale and spinach, you're nourishing yourself. We've been lied to because you're not absorbing a lot of that. And then you end up having with the iron deficiency. Oh, but I have a lot of spinach. So let's go to this question: hidden sugars. Even parents trying to be healthy often feed their kids fruit juice, number one, organic snacks. What's an organic snack? Did you grow the snack somewhere? How do these
Snack,
healthy sugars? I'm
snack,
sorry.
snack tree
Yeah,
along with
instead, I don't have one of those in my backyard.
yeah,
How
exactly.
do these healthy sugars impact the brain differently than processed sweets?
In my opinion, not much different.
Yeah.
What do you
So
think?
I mean, certainly if you want to feed a fruit to your child, that's probably 100% better than
The
uh,
fruit itself, yes.
all right. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And Karen is going to be in Orlando at the Cholesterol Code movie. Thank you, Karen. And let's see. Let's find another question here. Does the chronic sugar consumption interfere with the development of the prefrontal cortex?
Again, I'm an observationist, not a doctor.
That's
I
the part that relates to impulse control.
right, yeah. So probably you can answer that question better than me. I see the result, so
Mhm.
it must be yes, because I see what happens to a child. I observe, but I don't have the science.
Does a child behavior change much if they have butter?
They calm down.
It certainly is not going to make them hyper
No,
or irritable or
no, it
but
keeps
we've
them.
been told that butter is bad. It's better to have this margarine made out of canola oil and soybean oil and all
Oh,
these oils that never existed in the planet for the past 100 years. It's not even 125. 100 years ago, none of those vegetable seed oils existed. Listen, at least olive oil is mentioned in the Bible, so I know it's got some track record, and they didn't need industrial complexes to produce it. It's been around for at least 2,000 years, right?
yeah, but Nelson, when people go into the past, they don't go far enough to understand what nutrition we really need. We have to go before the agricultural revolution. And the biblical time is still after the agricultural revolution. It's full of bread
Mhm.
and meat and, you name it. It's just not really so yeah, so it became even more poisonous the last 50 years and the last 100 years when the processing became over the top, making the already not so good food into more things that are even more toxic. But my source is going before agricultural revolution. I don't know if you know Dr. Or Professor Gerald Diamond from UCLA, who wrote Gun, Germs, and Steel, and the first chimpanzee, no, or the something about chimpanzee. Anyway, he's an anthropologist. He has an article called The Greatest Blunder in Human History. And what it is the agricultural revolution. We're the only species in human history who tried to change the diet, the species appropriate diet that we evolved into. We were hunters, very little gatherers in times of starvation, of not finding a hunt or some berries in the summer in areas that they grow, not coming from 3,000 miles away. And then we became all of a sudden farmers, raising our own unedible bunch of things that you have to do things to them to be able to eat them, and then they ruin your health, really. When we go back, when you talk about the past, I want to say don't go 2,000 years back. Yeah, that was better than now. But really, what was better is 10, 11,000 years back, before we turned to agriculture to solve a scarcity of hunting problem.
All right. So Uncle Charlie has a question. I was told sugar in fruit sugar, in Snickers sugar, in sugar in pretzels, sugar in Snickers. Oh, hi Peter. Yeah, pretzel Pete is here. In and all this sugar in the food basically turn into the same sugar into our body.
Mm-hmm.
You agree with that?
I totally
Naomi?
agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The cornstarch is even worse, he said, and then he's putting a comment. The CAC score, coronary artery calcium score, is 0. Dr. Nelson, not bad since I should have been dead in 2021. His hemoglobin A1C was 18. That's a very high A1C. Some machines that measure that don't even get to 18. So he has, he's got a very good story. He has reversed type 2 diabetes, lost, I think, over 100, maybe 150 pounds. All the sugars turning to carbohydrate, and basically chronic excessive carbohydrate consumption is behind many of the chronic diseases that we have now that are also incurable, that are non-reversible, that are ever worsening. And so many people, by adopting a very low carbohydrate diet or a carnivore diet, have been able to either put it into remission, reverse it completely, or at least controlling it a little bit better than with the current common wisdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to play this last video. It's about, I believe, 4 minutes, and we'll be right back in a second. Let's see.
Dealing with daily tantrums, sibling rivalry, or child aggression? Before addressing the parenting itself, it's worth looking in your pantry. Removing refined sugars and heavy carbohydrates helps stabilize the blood glucose levels that often trigger emotional outbursts in a developing brain. We've designed a 3-step plan to help you adjust your family's meals, creating a calmer environment where you can focus on connection instead of constant discipline. To follow this process, you'll need an open mind, your kitchen pantry, and a commitment to understanding your child's emotional resilience from a physiological perspective. Shifting your focus toward these nutritional root causes provides a practical foundation for resolving the behavioral struggles that often disrupt a household. Step 1 is the physical pantry audit. Open your cupboards and pull out the kid-friendly snacks you use most often. We are checking these for sugar content because high intake is linked to rapid mood swings and difficulty focusing in young children. Naomi Aldort suggests interpreting a child's behavior as a cue. When we see a tantrum, we are often witnessing the physical stress of a blood sugar crash rather than an intentional act of defiance. Examine your labels. You want to specifically isolate the added sugars and total carbohydrate rows, as these figures directly influence energy spikes. Identify the 3 items in your kitchen with the highest concentrations of these ingredients and set them aside. Removing these specific triggers helps stabilize your child's physical state, making emotional regulation more manageable for them. Step 2 is understanding the long-term impact of sugar on the brain. This physiological context helps clarify why maintaining these dietary boundaries is important. After eating high-carb snacks, blood sugar rises quickly. This sharp glucose peak creates an artificial energy surge in the brain. The body compensates with a steep drop. This crash is a biological stress state that frequently manifests as emotional dysregulation. Repeated cycles of these spikes and crashes can lead to chronic inflammation in the brain, a condition linked to ongoing mood instability. Keep in mind that high glycemic loads affect the brain regardless of the source. Fruit juices can cause the same physiological cycle as processed sweets. This understanding of brain-healthy nutrition is a central part of Naomi Aldort's work with Dr. Elizabeth Bright on supporting a child's development through proper fueling. Recognizing the physical impact these ingredients have on the brain makes it easier to stay consistent with these dietary changes. Step 3 is the transition. Replace those high-carbohydrate snacks with healthy fats, proteins, and whole foods. Instead of cereal, try eggs. You can substitute juice with water and offer more nutrient-dense options like meats and whole vegetables. You may face social pressure from relatives who want to offer treats. Setting clear expectations about your child's dietary needs helps maintain their physical stability when they are away from home. During the initial adjustment, use Naomi Aldort's focus on connection to listen to your child's frustration without relying on threats or punishments. Now, outline a simple, sugar-free meal plan for your family to start tomorrow. Combining a stable diet with non-coercive parenting reduces the biological friction that often leads to power struggles. Completing this audit and understanding the brain-behavior connection provides a solid starting point for building emotional resilience. Stabilizing the body's chemistry removes many of the physical triggers for conflict, allowing the family relationship to focus on connection. To explore the work of Naomi Aldort further, you can find her book, Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves, at naomialdort.com. This video is a production of metabolic health practitioner Doctor Nelson Vazquez and Kiltz Health. Establishing a foundation of good nourishment makes it much easier to foster a peaceful and connected home.
All righty. So
I have one comment to that, and
go
that is,
ahead.
we're talking about what's on the label. Read the label. Buy food that has no label. Buy the food itself, not a list of ingredients. So, a
And
piece
if
of,
they list the ingredients, it's better if they just list the one ingredient.
yeah, like if I buy a piece of steak or ground meat and it says on it beef or
So we have just less than one more minute, but quick comment about the new food guidelines. What do you think?
well, it's an improvement. Definitely better, but definitely includes meat and doesn't promote, heavy carbs, but ways to go.
They
Ways,
still put a limit on the saturated fat, which is not
yeah,
the cause of disease,
yeah,
certainly.
yeah. It's not ideal, but it's in the right direction. But like I tell parents, give your child and your baby a lot of meat. And what I was saying before, that when you talked about the toxins, that you don't get the nutrition from the plants, what I read is that actually it also prevents getting the nutrition from the meat that you're eating with the plants. That
All
it,
righty. We're at the end.
yeah.
We have 5 seconds to go, but go to her website, which is naomialdort.com. And you have a great day. We have a meeting in the community at 5:30.